These eyes are crying. These eyes have seen a lot of loves, but they're never gonna find one like you.
It's beautiful, man.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm doing everything I can. Now stop calling me Shirley.
The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
All right, it's another edition of Sincerely Unqualified. I'm Kevin. As always, we have Winnie. We got Superbad today, my favorite comedy of all time. If you ask me, it's just the magnum opus of comedies. I'm not exactly sure if it's magnum opus or magnum opus, but I went for it, and it's opus.
It's opus now. I mean, that's what we're going with now. You can't change it after the fact.
Have to.
It's online. I mean, it's pre-recorded. We're going opus. I'm pretty sure it's opus, though.
There it is, folks.
Pretty sure it's opus. I would wager a lot of money that it's opus.
Immediately after I said it.
That's why.
I'm pretty sure it's opus.
It's opium. It's opus.
Yeah.
Yep. Would go with that.
Wait, hang on. We're talking drugs that get shipped in. Like, we had this crisis back in the day. This lucrative trade
back in the day.
And we're saying,
back
like 1800s, right?
I would say like 1400s.
Gosh, you're very right. It's not the 1800s.
An opium crisis. Like we're thinking.
All right, we're thinking. Listen, everyone.
1400
Apparently I'm an
BC China. Like that's.
So if there's anything you need to know about me, I'm an idiot, and sometimes when I say things, I immediately realize that they were wrong. Again, I just said 1800 out loud. Sometimes when you're recording a podcast,
it happens.
You say something
it happens
off the top of your head and immediately know it's wrong. You just got to say 1800 so people don't question it.
The sale of
if you
witch
ever look
trials.
It up, it was 1868. Yeah, it was 1867. Well, 1869.
1867.
Cuban Halloween got released based on the Salem witch trials.
On your historical chain, there's a lot of things that work together. The Revenant actually had opium in it. They were all just on opium during the filming, just because it was so true to the times. Yeah, in the 1860s.
You remember that movie with Tom Hardy when they were bootleg opium runners? That was a good one.
Yeah, no, totally. That was a great one.
That was about Prohibition.
Tom Hardy.
Because I could tell that you did not know what I was talking about.
No, I didn't know what movie you were going for, but Tom Hardy in an opium den would be quite a movie.
Ooh, that would be good.
Yeah.
No,
just call it opium.
It was a movie about Prohibition that it was his follow-up from. I actually think it was his follow-up from Bane.
Really? Wait, what movie?
Yeah.
Tom Hardy in a Prohibition movie.
Oh, Lawless. Yeah. 2012 release. Yeah. Lawless. Yeah.
Wait,
it was about opium, though.
Wasn't the dude from Yellowstone in that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. What's his name?
Let's
He's such a great actor.
Listen to us.
Because the guy from Lawless was also in Yellowstone, and he was also in the Bonnie and Clyde movie that just came out on Netflix recently. And I'm blanking on his name, but he's a huge actor.
Are you talking about Gary Oldman?
No, not Gary Oldman.
Because I'm seeing top billed as Shia LaBeouf, which I honestly, Shia LaBeouf, however you want to say it, I forgot he was in this movie. Gary Oldman, Tom Hardy.
Oh, I'm thinking The Highwaymen from Netflix.
Okay, well,
it's movie. Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner is who I was thinking of.
You couldn't think of you couldn't pull Kevin Costner.
All right,
you have me looking up Lawless Wikipedia. Yeah, I didn't even get to the IMDb because I was freaking out. I was just clicking as fast as I could.
It was Kevin Costner. Okay, sorry about that. That was a lapse in rationality right there.
Yeah, so folks, Gary Oldman is in Lawless. Kevin Costner is in The Highwaymen. But today, We're talking Superbad.
We're talking something
Magnum Opus/Opus. That's very different from both of those movies.
I don't think either of those people would touch this movie, but we're gonna go.
I'll tell you what. If they had any foresight, they would have touched this movie because it was incredible. Again, number one comedy of all time, and it holds up. This movie makes me feel some type of way.
So there's
I'll say that.
It's definitely, I feel like, the pinnacle of accuracy when it comes to coming of age movies. 100%.
Yeah. Yep. And like so I think that's something really important to note right off the bat, because it shapes all of our insights, is they started writing this movie when they were 14. I'm sure maybe a lot of people know that, maybe a lot of people don't. So Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are writing partners, and they watched this shitty movie when they were young. They were literally 14 years old and were like, yeah, I think I could write that. So they ended up going to their parents' desk and just started writing a movie that would end up being Superbad, which is unreal. It's crazy how long the story took to develop. And especially like over those formative years to be able to, after rewrite probably like 1,000 when they're in high school, they end up with a like different storyline, I'm sure, because they pull from their own experiences.
I can imagine it changing every year. Just the script completely changing every single year as they go through, kind of like a journal for their own lives, as they go through these different times. Because that's something that we don't get, I'd say, like, ever. I mean, other than Matthew McConaughey's new book where he's like, I journaled for 45 years. It's like, other than that,
what a cool guy, man.
Yeah, he's so awesome.
So cool.
He's so fucking cool. He's like, I went in the desert for 2 weeks, no power, just brought a generator when I got hot. It's like, all right, dude, we get it. You're awesome.
Yeah, and he was what was he on peyote and wrestled or like? Just
no, not wrestled. He found a spiritual connection with a cougar in a cage for 4 hours on peyote. The cougar was literally like, "Fuck, this dude's cool." Like,
this guy's so cool. I was gonna eat this guy, but how can you eat this guy? He's so hot.
He's so goddamn scrumptious. I'm gonna leave him for everybody else. Like, what? What?
Insane.
I mean, but you don't get that kind of insight when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then have that window of time be, you have one rewrite when you're 14, when you're a freshman, you have one perspective. Then you have it when you're a sophomore. You're like, all right, here's what happened. Here's what changed. Here's how I can look back on this and be like, okay. And then to be all the way through senior, obviously, because that's when it takes place. They're seniors in high school.
Yeah.
But I mean, this would have been a completely different movie had it been they were freshmen versus them being seniors. But I'm so glad it was like kind of towards the end and they got the whole reflective process of everything that happened. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like also senior year of high school, no matter what, and I actually think that's one of the most interesting things about it is that no matter what kind of experience you had in your high school, senior year was, I don't even know if you can say emotional, but it was a very formative, very important year. If you had a bad time, it was going to be a stepping off into college. If you had a good time, it was going to be the end of the era, So they saw, and again, this isn't the fact section yet, but just something we need to get out of the way, like that they were writing this, they kept rewriting it, and, they drew on so many of their own experiences, and they basically saw like American Pie. Actually, I think it was directly called out, and they were like, this is a good movie and all, but like, this isn't how it actually goes down. Like, let's make something that we actually like. So it ends up being fantastic. And, going into our insights here, I guess we'll start with flick takes. I really think that what they ended up doing is creating a mix of a lot of different types of movies, because not only is it a coming of age movie, it's kind of like a party movie. Like there's a
little Project X thrown in there.
Yeah, like a little bit. And obviously most most party movies like Project X kind of have their own coming of age stuff going on. Generally it's younger kids and like they're finding themselves or whatnot. But like there's some fun party stuff to it, and that it actually relieves a lot of tension when the main party rolls around. But so yeah, not only is it coming of age, a party, but also when you have Bill Hader and Seth Rogen as two cops, that it's like a lame buddy cop training kind of movie. Like all three are just mixed together perfectly. And I think that the only way you do that is by writing the script for so long, because you have so much character development.
I mean, absolutely. And it's so funny to see, like I think Seth, we'll get to this a little later in facts. I think you have mentioned like this Seth Rogen was writing this movie with himself in mind and Evan Goldberg in mind as the leads. But for it to come full circle and for Seth Rogen to then be playing the cop is probably such a cool thing for him to lay out. Like for them to be writing it for so long and come all this way and see it come full circle, and then to play not himself, but to see it from the outside perspective and then get to play the cop, which he wrote in there, and just be that character. Yeah. I mean, that's so cool in itself to be that old, to be old enough to have this introspective look on that time of your life and the outside perspective, and then just play a completely separate role. Be like, I'm trusting these guys with this, and I'm just going to play this like trainee cop who comes in. Yeah.
And again, I guess I'm just going to keep sneaking facts in here, because there's so many facts about this movie that you may or may not know, but like something that's important to know is that, like you were saying, like let's trust these people, and he wrote it for himself. And we were just talking about in the last movie, Pineapple Express, he did, the 2 podcasts ago, it was him again, and he was writing, or he was essentially going for this role, and then had to be talked out of it. Like, no, this actually will be better. But it got to the earlier stages this time. He essentially realized he was too old, so he saw Jonah Hill read for it, and he was like, all right, that works. But Jonah Hill is only a year and a half younger than him. So he's playing this like older guy, whereas Jonah Hill goes in for a table read and he's just like, no, this is perfect. Let's have him play me, which is cool.
It is crazy how Jonah Hill's a year and a half younger than him, and they can look like they're at such different points in their life in this movie. Like I would say Seth Rogen looks like he's early 30s, where it's believable that Jonah Hill is a 17, 18-year-old.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy, because Jonah Hill himself is 23. So we'll run through the ages quick.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen's, 24, 25. We'll call it 20. Jonah Hill's 23. Bill Hader is only 28 in this. So, but you still have a 4-year age difference between Seth Rogen and Bill Hader, which is kind of crazy looking at it on screen. And then in terms of the other group, like the kids, so you have McLovin, which Christopher Mintz-Plasse, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is 17. Michael Cera is 18. But then Jonah Hill's just sitting there at 23. Like he's a full 6 years older than him.
Which
McLovin
is
and 5 years older than So that's obviously some nice movie magic that they got going on. But it's so great that they can mix all of those stories together. And I think that's what gives this movie so much damn depth. And it's so funny. It's so raunchy, but it still can have like these 3 intermixing, I guess, plot points, just kind of styles of the movie. And then, along with that, I love the fact that, or I just love the way that it ended. It could have done a kind of cheesy route, which honestly I would have loved. Like, give me, and I guess it did. Like, I guess it all depends on the way you look at it, but
I wouldn't say so. I would say honestly that the first time that I watched this movie, I forget exactly when it was, but for me, it was like, that's how you're going to end it? Seriously? And I take it as me being younger and expecting that cheesy ending, expecting like, oh, they're going to get together, blah, blah, blah. But I think now rewatching it, everything was perfect. Like, you know how it was going to go. You read into the situations, but like nothing needs to be explicitly done where then it becomes cheesy. So I think they did it perfectly where it's like, you know what's going to happen. You see what's going on, but you don't need this like long strewn out, like we're meant to be together, that whole kind of thing. Yeah. I love that they just ended it abruptly, almost in the sense of like The Sopranos just, I mean, you're going to get some flack, but I haven't watched The Sopranos all the way through, but I do know how it ended on just the black screen. I'd almost equate that to this in the comedy movie sense of just like them ending it and you being left on that, which is great.
Yeah, and
how
I think,
it should be.
Right. I think that's something that's important with a lot of movies is a lot of movies think that they have to have this grand ending and that we have to have this resolution. But a lot of the time I think what I thought with this movie was it's not important how it goes on from there. What was important was the journey. What was important was everything that we saw in the movie. So what does it matter? You can make your inferences, and I think it's pretty obvious. Yeah. But I also think that was probably, it's interesting that you said that when you were younger, you were expecting this thing. Yeah. Because I think that the reason that this movie is as good as it is because everyone's had friends in high school that they've moved away from. So if you watch this when you're in high school, there's like existential angst that you have to deal with watching this movie. And being put in your face, this is going to happen. Yeah. But it doesn't matter if you go to college with so-and-so, it doesn't matter if you don't. This is what's going to happen. So I think when you're on the other side, you can kind of look at it and be like, yeah, no, that doesn't matter. What mattered was that whole time that they had together.
Exactly. It's the whole path that got them there. And even like, I loved seeing what they did with bringing you into it so much. What made it so real is that, you know, everyone, when you go to high school, there's your friend group, there's your friends, and then there's those people you've gone to school with. Like for me personally, I went to the school with the same people since kindergarten. And you know everything that's happened to everybody since then. They brought that into this movie. They literally brought that into this movie. So it's like even Dave Franco's cameo where he's like, you go piss your pants again? He's like, that was in the 3rd grade, man. And Jonah Hill's like, people don't forget. It's like, well, that's actually kind of true. Like, people don't forget. I mean,
if you do something like that, like in your school, if you don't move out of your school district, that's, people think that.
People don't forget. I mean, those, and even the names they just tossed in there, it's like, oh, Donnie Braskowitz, like he's the nicest person ever. Those little things just they brought you even closer into that world. And you're like, it seems like it's a real high school. It seems like all of them have these external people. They know this, they know that. I mean, because you have those other people in your high school that you're like, okay, this person's that, this person's that. It did so much of creating that real environment, which helps because they were when they were 14.
They had all that stuff, like the guy he was eating dessert alone at lunch. Yeah. And he gives a very specific name. Yep. Like, honestly, if we were writing a movie, I feel like, with what you did back in middle school would kind of stick with you. We would have to write it in. Oh, there goes Winnie, that guy that was feverishly masturbating in the bathroom in 7th grade and everyone saw him.
They caught me.
I wouldn't want to write it in, but I would have to.
It'd have to be in there. What I think did it for me, though, is the last names. I think that's what does it. That's what makes it so special.
I'm going to coin like a prize. When you go with very good names, I'm going to call it the Hank Mardukas. The I love you man, Peter's dad's best friend, Hank Mardukas. You don't forget Hank Mardukas' name. No. It's an all-time name. So the fact that the funny thing is I'm forgetting the guy who eats dessert alone's name.
No, but
when you hear it, you're like, that's a real name. Like they didn't just make that up, You
can't.
Like that comes from somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. That's a kid who was legitimately eating lunch by himself when they were 14, and they were like, no, we're going to keep this. Like, we're going to.
Yeah.
That's something that is so great about this. It just separates Superbad from so many other things, because there's so many coming of age movies that are just like, yeah, when John was younger, he used to eat lunch by himself. Like, and then there's people eating in the bathroom. No. What this movie does is, instead of making it dramatized.
Did you say eating in the bathroom?
That's in so many movies. You know it is.
Eat,
so many
like
movies
eating?
and TV shows. Yeah, when the kid is alone and goes and eats in the bathroom stall. I've never seen it. I think it's a dramatization
like
of
crying
everything.
in the stall. Look, I must have missed every single movie that ever featured somebody eating in a damn bathroom.
I guarantee you, look it up, there's at least 12 scenes of people eating lunch alone in the bathroom. Guaranteed.
Okay. Oh, we'll look them up after.
Guaranteed.
After the pod, I'll take a look.
But I'm saying, like,
you were saying about the dramatization.
I'm saying they don't do that.
Ask.
No, I'm saying I agree with you. Look, it's so outlandish that even you stop me and go, who the fuck does that? Nobody. That's why this movie's so great. They take it from a comedic lens versus like, this is our coming of age. Yes. It's like, this is what the fuck happened. Yeah, this is great. And I feel like that needs to be taken. People should take notes on this, because it's
honestly, this movie straight up inspires me, just because it's like knowing and it did before I knew that they started writing when they were 14, and that it was this duo and that they were so good at everything, because it's so apparent that they just have a grasp on what the movie actually is and wants to be. Whereas I feel like a lot of the times when you sell a movie to a big
big
company,
studio, big network.
Big studio. Big studio network. Completely blanked my mind. I feel like it's generally people that are older and they've produced a lot of great content, but when you try to make movies like this, they're just out of touch, and it's really of no fault to their own, I guess. Like, no. Dude, think about it. If you're a 45-year-old person,
you can't writing
something that was in high school was 27 years ago at that point. Your high school experience was wildly different than everyone else's.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what? As much as this is a masterclass in writing and a masterclass in how to make a comedy, this is not going to look anything like people that are currently in high school. Like they already had to atone for like being straight up. They said like homophobic. You know, they used some slurs in there that don't fly nowadays. But back when they were in high school, you know, it came out in 2007, so they were in high school late 90s, early 2000s. I wasn't, but I would assume that was ripping. Like, it was constant, you know? So
yeah, and I think they definitely evolved it to take place in like a 2007 high school, which I think it did so well. And what you can do, honestly, which I don't think anybody should do, but you could take this movie every 20 years, keep the script, maybe a few little edits, keep the script, and adapt the script to what this last generation experienced in high school, and it would still work. It would still work perfectly. Like, you just throw in you throw an iPhone in their hands instead of like the flip phone, it still works.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I would agree for sure. I thought you were going to say that, because I was actually going to push back super hard on that. I was going to say that's the whole point. I'm saying like it works forever, but in 40 years from now, if you throw it like completely different cast, throw in an iPhone, same script, it works. It's going to be the same movie. Yeah, it's going to have the same impact. I think they also did that well, even like, you know, when you make a really good movie or a really good just whatever content, and it's timeless, that says something. Yeah. I think that everything in this is timeless. Literally the only things that date it. And a lot of movies actually do this poorly. And I think they have since learned. But when you have a lot of references or a lot of, honestly, technology. So you have the flip phones in this movie. It can be looked past. It's like whatever. And then the only other one was our boy, Joe Latruglio.
Latruglio.
I can't even get it right. He's
Brooklyn
still
Nine-Nine
so he's in the
centerpiece.
the Sincerely Unqualified cinematic universe. He asked them if they have a MySpace. And I was just like, you know what? That was the thing back then, I guess. Probably. I mean, I was young, but
Look, dub over it. Half a second, have Joe Latruglio come in. You don't even need to dub over it. But I'm saying if you were, just have him come in and be like, you guys on Facebook? And then it's
hey, you guys on Facebook.
just Seth Rogen just laughing, going, Facebook.
No, I can't even. That was going to be terrible. I'm stopping it short. The other thing that I was thinking was that in terms of just putting themselves in it and making them like making very specific references is the only reason I know this is because I am now familiar with the Greek community, and it's just another example of how they definitely put things in, because when they were in the liquor store, so when Seth Rogen Jonah Hill was in the liquor store, they were going through like the fantasies or whatever. Right to the right of him was a bottle of this like random brand of ouzo, and then that was something else that like ended up in his cart, and it specifically showed ouzo, which is like sambuca. It's this Greek liquor or whatever. And I was like, I know for a fact that they had some friend that had their parents had ouzo and they used to drink ouzo, and they were like, no, we got to put this bottle of ouzo in there.
Yeah.
That's the most random liquor you could possibly pick.
It seems like such a specific reference.
Or so, yeah.
They were like, what's the most obscure liquor we could get? And it's like, ouzo. Let's throw some ouzo in.
It could be. I like to think that it was like they got drunk on ouzo at some point, and then like just stuff like that. Like then having the like I guess not young mind, but when he poured out all the laundry detergent to fill it with bottles of beer.
Yeah.
That's another thing that stuck out to me. Like no one that's old thinks, I don't care how creative you are. Like that's like the old, when you're trying to smoke pot and you don't have anything around, like you don't have a pipe or papers or anything. So you use a soda can or a piece of fruit or something. Yeah, it's ingenuity. It's anything to get it done, man.
Literally engineering at its finest. You're just like, what can be made into something where you can just put something in, light it, and it's going to work.
Yeah, in this case, it's a whole bunch of beer. And
the only thing with that, watching it back, at first, my first like 70 times watching this movie, I'm like, it's a great idea. Great idea. Watching it back this time, I was like, there's no residual effect from the laundry detergent in there. Like they tell kids not to eat Tide Pods, and then they're just pouring detergent in.
I think that's kind of the. I think that's also kind of the joke.
Oh, absolutely. That was the original Tide Pod. Like they started eating Tide Pods before it was cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was pre. What was that? Was that 2018? Was that 2 years ago?
That was some weird stuff. I don't understand. Who thought that was a good idea? Who thought like, you know what? It's fine.
Wasn't it just a meme at first?
It was a meme at first, and then you know what happened? People started doing it. I wonder how many people do you think actually have drank beer out of laundry detergent? Do you know how many Halloween costumes people dressed up as in 2010 to 2012 after this movie like was super popular? Where they were like, I can't go get a detergent thing. I'm just gonna empty it out and pour it in. They did it in the movie. What would you do? Would you pour everything out and then wash it with water? You can't just soak it. Soak it in water. Like, do you soak it for a while? Does that actually work? Because it just agitates it, and then you still have a film. Here's what I would do. So, when you're emptying out like a shaker bottle or something like that, throw it under the sink. Just let the sink run, and it'll eventually clear itself out. Yep. So put it. Like if you're doing it on a larger scale, put it under the bathtub, let it run itself out until everything becomes clear, and then you got yourself a nice clean detergent thing. I'm going to call you out. This is getting released the day of the election.
you're wasting
Nobody.
water. Everyone's gonna know. Everyone's gonna know you are a water waster.
Look, what do you want to
Come
cut
on,
it
man.
in?
You're better
cut
than
it-
that.
Do you want to cut it in half then?
Wear a mask.
Just wear your masks. It's easy.
Wear a mask.
It's easy. It's fucking easy. It's so easy.
Just listen.
You don't
All right,
have you don't have a medical exemption. Nobody does. Okay? You can breathe. You're fine. Everyone can breathe.
Oh, hey, we're not getting into this. Come on.
Just wanted to throw that in there.
Everyone can do. I'm trying to
know.
dox you. I'm trying to dox you on our own podcast.
Everyone can breathe with a mask on. But what I also love about the movie
Continue.
is,
of course.
So the realest thing that I saw, the realest thing, high school wise, the most that hits home when you were drinking in high school, whether it be with one friend, two friends, whatever, the end of the night, when you're at your friend's house, you end up sleeping over, the whole I love you stuff. It's like, hey, I love you.
Yep.
Especially senior year when you realize this is all going to end.
Yep.
You're like,
Grad parties.
dude, I love you. Like, I love you. That whole thing was so true. That absolutely happens. I mean, that just hits home, especially after the fact.
Yeah.
Like, watching it before, you're like, oh, dude, like, I don't know if that I do that, like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you're even like in denial about it. You're like, no, I don't really do that.
You're like, dude, I mean, why would I ever do that to you? I'm just your friend. Like, that's, and then you watch it afterwards and you're like, that happened a ton. Like, yeah, that was.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying with it. There's just so much. Obviously I only had one experience, but I have to assume, and I feel like I know, it really doesn't matter what kind of experience you had. Everyone has existential angst. Like, all you knew before that was the same group of people. Well, for the most part, if you didn't move around, all that stuff. But you have like one friend group, and then at some point, it's going to end, and that's freaky to people. So they take this movie, throw in a buddy cop training movie, throw in a party movie, and then you have, in my opinion, the greatest comedy of all time. That's mine for flick takes. Do you wanna sneak anything else in here? I think we can move on.
I'm gonna throw one more. Actually, let's move on.
Let's
move on.
All right. So we'll start with exclusives then. I actually want to start with casting because this is one of the most talked about movies in terms of behind the scenes stories, facts you didn't know, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to take a unique angle at it, I guess. Yeah. So I did some IMDb searching and I got 3 casting things. One is that when they were in the room, when they were in the party, when all the people were doing cocaine and Michael Cera starts singing, you may have heard it in the beginning of this episode. Bernard from the Santa Claus, the head elf, is the one who's like touching Michael Cera's face. He's like, this guy, Jimmy's brother, come on, sing for us. It's the damn head elf from the Santa Claus. That's one. 2, the person that was with Michael Cera in the home ec class when we first meet Jules, which is Emma Stone's character. Yep. He has his partner. Roger Iwami is the actor's name. He's literally only credited in one role. This is the only movie he was ever in. He didn't have any lines. He just kind of did a nod and then just pieced from like any acting ever.
Well, he was in it twice because he passed him the bottle later that night, and then all he did again was...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, just nodded. He didn't say a word because Michael Cera's like, life is a fucking bitch, man, and passes him the bottle, and he just goes,
and he just doesn't say anything. That's
the whole thing.
Just literally, I don't think I've ever seen anyone with just like one credited role. Like, this was the only one. And then 3, just quick 3 ones right here. So there's an actress, and it's the one who gives him the period stain. Yep. And she is the wife of Ike Barinholtz in Neighbors. Yeah. And also, she plays this drunk girl. She's the one who asks if he wants to sing karaoke and get him to the Greek. So this chick just apparently plays a drunk girl really well. Like she's just really good at it, and she gets casted all the time.
That's typecast for you right there. You know?
Yeah. That's literally what I was like. She literally gets typecast as someone who's just drunk. Like, all right, she's in good movies.
Some people are action heroes. Some people are drunk girls. You know? What can you do?
Yeah.
You're good at what you're good at. Follow your passion.
They're different. One's not better. They're just different.
They both make
What do you got?
they both make the movie-going experience that much better. But
Oh, yeah.
so for me, I'm going kind of on the same role, but it was for me that it was Fogel's first movie appearance ever. And the thing about that was, as we mentioned before, he was 17, right?
Yep.
So being a 17-year-old, there's certain things that you can and cannot do on set by yourself because you're still a minor.
Minor, yep.
One of those things was the sex scene that he actually films. So for that, he had to have his mother there on set, which for a 17-year-old, I don't know his relationship with his mother. I don't know what the situation is there.
Look,
But it cannot be that good. I'm saying it cannot be that good in the sense that she would be willing to watch that. No matter if it's fake or not,
Well,
still
look,
uncomfortable.
I agree. I think it's interesting she was on this set.
She had to be legally,
I don't think she was
though.
sitting there like,
No.
no. Switch form. We don't do that.
That's what your father does. I don't like that. That's what your father does.
Oh.
Change it. She's next to
geez.
Seth Rogen in the chair. She's like, no. Christopher.
No, but yeah, that's so awkward. But also, you gotta wonder, did they both have such a sense for how big this movie actually was going to be that it's like, look, I'll do this because I'm going to get a bag after this.
Yeah, I mean the residual checks are probably nice.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
pretty successful.
Heard a lot about residual checks. I mean, it's from people who are in and out of movies, but I've heard they're like 97 cents. But that's probably from people who are kind of lesser roles.
Yeah.
Going on first movies, though, guess who else's first movie it was?
Who?
Emma Stone herself.
Emma Stone?
This is Emma Stone's first movie, which is crazy. That's pretty
honestly,
crazy.
Like, so that's the other thing. Looking at the ages of them or whatever, I think that it said she was 18, right? So yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
unless she was a child actress, which obviously she wasn't.
Yeah,
I guess it would make sense that 18 would be the
absolutely.
First movie.
It's just so in the zeitgeist and everything, you think of her as kind of always being around. Like Emma Stone, it feels like for the past however long has been in everything since this movie. So for us specifically, I mean, before that, obviously, if you're a little older than us, you probably don't, think of her as being in everything. But for me and you, you know, when you see her pop up, you're like, yeah, that's Emma Stone. Of course she's in this. Like, why wouldn't she be? She's in so many great movies.
Fantastic
You're
actress.
like,
She's her filmography is fantastic.
But for a role this in a movie that's this good, you don't think of that as being somebody's first jump into cinema, Like,
no, especially because it's so good.
I know.
She's
and
so
that's
good in this movie.
That's the jumping off point for a lot of the people in this movie, which is insane that they had such a great start. So it's like some people start in indie movies, random movies, and they got to start all the way up here.
Yeah, to start in a feature-length, incredible movie that was so long in the making that they trust you to play one of these characters. One, I think that speaks a lot to Rogen, Goldberg, and Apatow, that they have a sense for it, and they're just like, okay, and the casting director, not sure who it is, sorry, to be like, okay, we're throwing these people in, that's going to be incredible, especially because so much of this movie was improv. They literally, they said the director just literally let the cameras roll, even in between takes. They were just filming everything because they all had such good chemistry. They were all so great together. And that's what's crazy about it being both of their first roles, is because even Emma Stone, so the reaction of Jonah Hill falling and hitting her in the head is improv. And I think that it's just like, she doesn't do anything crazy. I think she just says, "Oh, fuck," really loud or something around that. But still, I mean, like and then again, not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly. I should probably look these things up beforehand, but Greg Mottola is the director and just got a ton of footage. So like that includes the opening scenes where it's a animated cutout of Michael Cera, but Michael Cera just danced in front of a camera for an hour straight. And they were just like, "Yep, we'll use some of that in the opening scene."
That's a crazy, that's a cardio workout like no other. To dance for an hour
is so long.
An hour is like, what is he playing in the background? Because you can't be playing the same song because you'll go crazy. Like that's a form of torture.
Oh no. Yeah. There has to be like that. They have to. It was a mix before a mix. He's getting down to like an EDM, Avicii live at the main stage of Ultra. Like
Tiesto's first track. That's just like the SpongeBob song where it's beep beep boop 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 beep. Like just something like that, like really early EDM, just beep,
for
boop,
sure.
Boop, boop, beep. But that
for sure, just maybe some like funk. That'd be nice.
Oh yeah, the improv itself is very impressive because you can tell with some of the lines that they say, where they just kind of feed off of each other. Especially Jonah Hill, Michael Cera, and Christopher. They feed off of each other. You can tell that chemistry was there. You can't make that up. Like one of them would say something, the other one would come back, and I can see those scenes going for 15 minutes of them just saying more things to each other just until they're like, "All right, cut."
Yeah, like they get so much and then condense it down. So like one of those scenes actually, and you mentioned the kids, which they were fantastic. But then you have, I guess Christopher Mintz-Plasse was in this one too. Yeah. With Rogen and Bill Hader, when they're talking about what they thought it would be to be a cop and that everything would just be covered in semen. So they just go off on this whole tangent about semen. I guess that they improv'd it for 4 straight minutes and then they just cut it down to a minute and a half and just put it in the movie. So like things like that, the DTF line, "down to fuck," that apparently they just thought of that off the top of their head. Or Jonah Hill thought of it at the top of their head.
Which has become a part of like culture now, DTF.
Yeah, that literally that's
in the Jersey Shore, right? Like that was what sparked it.
You thought it started in the Jersey Shore, but no, he just thought of it randomly out of improv. And so that the scene between Michael Cera and Martha McIsaac, which is the girl he was hooking up with, and apparently Sarah was actually drunk during the the filming of it, but a lot of that interaction was improv. And then the boop that Seth gives Evan on his nose towards the end of the movie, all of that was improvised.
Really?
So funny. Yeah. So like so much of it was literally just letting these younger, at least for the most part, actors and actresses just like run
do their
free.
thing.
Like, hey, here's the script that we spent insane amounts of years writing, but we want you to make it your own. Like we want this to be like as natural as it could possibly be. And I think that's another reason this movie works out so well.
Oh yeah. And I think number one, where that comes from, it's gotta be Seth Rogen and Bill Hader being kind of the leading influences in how this is going, because those two are prime examples of how to improv and how to just go. Because Bill Hader, if you throw him into any situation, he's going to run with it. And I feel like he could go for 2 hours if you throw him into no matter what. Like he'll throw lines at you. And Seth Rogen will do the same. And so having that kind of backing where a director's not rigid, where they're like, look, we do it, so why can't you? So you guys work your muscles, do this. And I feel like that's especially a reason why these young actors had the chance to shine, like an Emma Stone or Like even Jonah Hill, like he's still young. All of these people had the chance to show what they're really made of and not be inhibited by like such a rigid script.
Yeah. Yeah.
And their chemistry is so great that it's weird to think of it off camera being off, you know? Like they
Right.
obviously on screen, you know, Jonah Hill isn't supposed to get along with Fogel.
He hates him.
Yeah, well, that was true before filming too. So when they were when they were casting Fogel, there's actually a quote from Seth Rogen about when they were casting him, because Jonah Hill did not like Fogel. He didn't like Christopher Mintz-Plasse at all.
Yeah.
So the direct quote from Seth Rogen is, Jonah fucking hated him. He was all over Jonah's lines, completely disrespectful of the process, probably due to lack of experience, because again, this was his first movie. I remember he walked out of the room and Jonah was like, not that guy. And we were like, oh my God, you don't understand how much more that makes us want him. Because their characters are supposed to hate each other. So that's perfect.
Yeah. That's another thing that's great just about the character interactions is that even if you weren't a part of that, even if you didn't dislike someone that you were like, you know, this kind of weird triangle where two people don't get along, but the other parts of the triangle do.
Yeah.
We all have seen that play out. And that's what's so funny. It's incredible. Not incredible, but it's honestly shocking to hear that Jonah Hill, especially because dude's a sweetheart. He's just like, is one of the nicest guys. He's just like, no, not that guy. Nope. And ended up being the guy who wanted something. They had the foresight to be like, yeah, let's give him his first movie. Like, Jonah's going to hate him.
Even to be like, you're supposed to hate this dude. You know that, right? Like, you're not supposed to genuinely get along with him.
Yeah.
Like, Seth Rogen's
honestly,
like, wait, thanks for your input. I don't care. It's basically
so good. So good. But yeah, so like with going again with all the castings and everything, the funniest thing to me was that there's a little bit of nepotism involved. So Seth Rogen's dad actually. Yeah, good point. Good point. But so Seth Rogen's dad actually makes a cameo in the movie. He's the one where they're running through the people's backyard and run over kids in a tent. Guy runs out in his underwear, I think maybe a robe with a baseball bat, and tells him to get the fuck off their lawn or whatever.
I'm gonna quit. Like that is such a great addition. Like that there's these kids camping in their backyard and they're running through with with bottles.
That had to happen.
No,
something like that had to happen.
Yeah, you can't just be running through a neighborhood and nothing happens. You know, somebody's gonna be in the backyard, whether it's a bonfire, whether it's, you know, kids in a tent.
Well, that's the other good thing though is that so not only his dad had a contribution and his dad is technically an actor in it, but his mom actually wrote the ending for McLovin, for Fogel. She guided Rogen, I think, in a pretty direct way to be like, I think this is how he should go out. So you have the end scene with the cops and him, and he's shooting the gun and all that stuff. Fantastic ending for a character.
Absolutely.
Couldn't get much better.
He finally gets to shoot the gun. He's been asking about it for, you know, the entire movie. Since he got in the cop car, he's like, can I see the gun? Take out the bullets, you know, throughout, and then finally give it to him, let him shoot out the windows of the burning cop car.
So good.
They make him sign a report like, all right, some homeless dude took this on a joyride and we had no idea. He's like, absolutely.
Well, you gotta you gotta have him sign the paper.
My one thing is in their minds after that, when they're all standing there after that, they're like, how are we getting out of here?
Oh yeah.
Like, where are we walking to?
Something you don't think of.
Yeah, so where are we walking? Like, where do they go? They're in an empty parking lot, obviously away from everybody. It's like, where are we walking right now? Where do we go? There's no Uber. Where are we going?
Good. Pre-Uber, I cannot even imagine it.
I know.
It's so crazy. What'd you old folks do? All right. Give us one more quick fact, and then we'll move on. We're going to talk about our favorites then.
One little quick fact is that the word fuck The word "fuck," which is used sparingly in a lot of movies, a lot of everything, was used 186 times in the movie.
186 times.
Just think about that for a second. Think about 186 of anything.
What's crazy is that the runtime was only 113 minutes long, so it was used 1.6 times per minute. So like more than a time and a half per minute, you're getting the word "fuck." It's just hilarious.
That's more than once every 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Or no, more than once every 60 seconds.
Yeah.
The math was off there. The math was off.
I think you were thinking like 45. I know you were saying.
Yeah. The math was off. Yep.
Yeah. I agreed with you right there.
Yeah, no, we did. You were quick to the yeah.
We say things and then they turn out to not be true, but that's fine. Yeah. So I guess 84 of those fucks, 84 out of the 186 are said by Jonah Hill himself, which is
that's a stat
amount of fucks for
That's a better stat than Moneyball, than any stat he used in Moneyball. I think that's a more
the sabermetrics of the profanity in Superbad are incredible.
He actually used that stat to get cast in Moneyball. He was like, I used 86 out of 186 times. They were like, whoa, you're the Yale guy in Moneyball. That's it.
Billy Bean was like, you're hired.
Brad Pitt's like, you got a lot of numbers, boy. I like it. And then he hired him.
There you go. And then he played first base too. All right. So we'll move on to our favorites here. We'll wrap up here soon. We'll start out. We start big picture. We zoom in. So we're going to go character for character. My first one, I guess when he said it's pretty undisputed. So I thought undisputed. Hey, there's so many good characters, but I got to take Bill Hader. I'm taking Bill Hader first. I mean, the fact that he is, and we were talking about the ages and everything, you can tell he's seasoned, more advanced than them. He's a veteran. He does this stuff. The dude's so funny. He's in like all of the movies we talk about. So you should know that both of us are just Bill Hader fanatics. We're Bill Hader stans. Some of the lines he delivers, just the whole aspect that he gives, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, with this kind of buddy cop training subplot, loves McLovin, all that stuff. Yeah. Just an unreal character. I don't think it gets much better in terms of characterization. And I mean, I guess he has an arc too, but I mean, I gotta give it to Bill Hader.
So this is the role for Bill Hader that sets him apart from the other roles that he has, because most of the time, other than Trainwreck.
Are we talking movies?
I'm talking all movies for Bill Hader because I love the guy.
Saying, are we including TV?
No, because Barry is a different
movies.
Story.
I would agree.
Barry is a different story.
Yeah,
but movies for him, I would say that this sets him apart, other than Trainwreck, which is another Apatow movie, where he just takes control and runs with it. He is the clear, far and away best character in this entire movie. And there's so many good ones, but you cannot dispute the comedic input and just the kind of like genius of his character that he almost becomes the main character without trying to become the main character.
Yeah. Well, so something I think we have to ask here, do you think it's because of the characterization, like the character himself, or do we think that it's the acting because he's so seasoned?
I think it's both. I think you can't have that
I think that's
role.
the easy.
Well, I'm saying that because you can't have that role obviously without the writing, but you also can't have that character have that much of a presence in the movie without it being Bill Hader. Like if you throw another actor in that role, it's not going to be the same thing, no matter who it is.
I think the other thing that's so important to note about age is like, obviously you have to keep it young. You have to have a pulse and you have to make it believable that it's in high school. But you also need some veteran. Like I think that everyone could kind of play off Bill Hader, and he was like he's like Tom Brady, He is the wise person. He is the figurehead of the group. And I think that that's why it works so well with him, that he can even have I have a line in Line for Lines coming up very shortly, but he the writing's incredible. We love this writing. There's obviously no question about that. But he can take some lines, Bill Hader him up.
Oh, I know which ones. I know which one you're saying already. I know which one you're talking about.
But first we'll get your favorite character. Go for it.
I mean, you can't say enough about Bill Hader. Also, I think that was the time where he was the guy on SNL. Like, there was a time where Bill Hader ran the shit out of that show, and it was for a good span. This is his prime heyday. He's still in it. I mean, he's still the GOAT, but can't argue with him being the best. Second best. It
doesn't get much better than him as Stefan, in SNL. Gosh. But second best.
That character's undisputed GOAT of all time. Second best, I would say, is Fogel, just for the transition that this character goes through from you looking at him in the start of the movie and just seeing him as he's like, hey guys, blah, blah, blah. And then you see him as staring at this girl's ass. The first thing that happens is, he's staring at this girl's ass. She turns around. He goes, it's 10:30, and just turns around. He's like, yeah, I totally told her the time. To him then, drifting cop cars, shooting guns, all of this, becoming like this high school badass, that whole transition for him was awesome to see. Just him turning into this completely different person, which is, you always love to see that, where some kid comes out of their shell, obviously from external reasons, but he just took it and ran with it. I mean, he was hilarious throughout. He was with the cops. He was hilarious with Bill Hader and Seth Rogen. I feel like their chemistry was amazing. Those three.
Yeah. Those three played off each other super well. And you just can't believe that it's his first movie when you think about that. But honestly, I think when you're comparing the two, I think that, honestly, in terms of the whole movie, I think that he definitely has the best character arc. I think his characterization, his character is the best. And then, it's of no fault to any of the other actors' own, because they're all incredible. Let's not lie. They're all incredible.
Oh, absolutely.
But Bill Hader is just he's older. He's done things before. So he kind of,
And he steals the show. He steals the show with everything he says. Every single thing he says is meaningful and it's hilarious. And then everything that happens to Fogel is meaningful and hilarious. Not to say that everything that happens to Jonah Hill and Michael Cera isn't, but that's more towards the general, we are at X, we're going to Y. Versus, this is a completely unexpected portion of the plot where we have no idea where the fuck this is going to go. It's like Michael Cera and Jonah Hill, they're trying to get booze, they're trying to go to the party. And then you have, on the other side, you have the B plot, which I would say is maybe even the A plot, is these cops taking this kid, and you have no fucking idea where they're going to go. You have no sense of where that's even going to end up.
Why they're still actually trying to hang out with the kid either. Yeah.
Do they believe he's 25? Probably not. But honestly, you have no clue throughout. They take him.
Yep.
I mean, that part alone just takes it to another level where it's it could be this, okay, we're going to get the booze, we go here, 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 and then we get to the party. And then you have this thing where it's all right, he's on a wild goose chase with two cops who don't know what they're doing. It's just, and they end up meeting up. I feel like that, that side of the plot steals the show for me.
Yeah,
and that's why Fogel's
I honestly,
number two.
Absolutely. I totally agree. We'll move on to scene for scene here. We could probably do this pretty quickly. I say we just run through it for the purpose of time. But so mine, so I was gonna say the whole party scene where he gets the period staying on him, but I feel like that's too much of a cop out because that's a pretty long scene. It has quite a few things going on. So honestly, my favorite part is just when he's in there calling the girl that he's trying to hook up with.
Yeah.
Because he ran out of because he didn't have service. And then all of a sudden those guys that you saw in the party, and by the way, Becca is the girl I was thinking of. So these guys that you've already seen in the party just roll in. They start sitting down, like trying to do cocaine, like smoking cigarettes, whatever. And then he starts singing the song, which just it's so funny. There's so many funny interactions. The Jimmy's brother thing, I think that scene is so memorable that if you ask a lot of people, they would know Jimmy's brother.
Oh, you're Jimmy's brother.
You would say, oh, you're Jimmy's brother. People would know exactly what you're talking about. And him just singing really awkwardly. All these guys are just yayed out. Just
one guy's crying. Like,
yeah. Oh, it's
just beautiful, man.
Too good.
That was so good.
And then the just real quick, the thing in the end. Or not, the thing right after that I thought was so funny. So he sings that, and it's just like, it seems like a memorable song. I don't really know it. Yeah. And then when it goes to those two, when it goes to Rogen and Hader in the car with Mince Platts, that song is on in the background, like very faintly. You have to kind of listen for it. But I heard it. I was like, oh, that's good. That's so good.
Perfect, just throwing it in there. They're like, we know. Uh-huh. Let's see if you pick it up. My favorite scene, on the other hand, is when Jonah Hill is in the grocery store. When he walks in, he's like, I'm going to go get the booze. Like, yeah. And he has 3 separate fantasies of what could happen. And he goes, like, the one is he goes up to the cashier. He's like, hey, I'm 22. I just forgot my wallet or whatever. And he's like, of course you are. And just gives him it. He's like, hope you have a great night. And then walks out. The other one, the old lady picks up her purse. And she's like, would you like me to buy you booze, young man? He was like, absolutely. And at the end, she's just like, hope you have fun fucking Jules. And he's like, I will. Yep. And then he fights the security guard. I mean, those whole things just thrown in there. Those are so great. That I love. Yeah. That also, whole thing.
What was the security guard doing in there? Obviously, I don't care. Like, I'm not
in a supermarket.
I actually have a problem with it. But yeah. What are we doing with the security guard? At first, when you see that, I obviously know now that it serves as the third fantasy or whatever. Yeah. But when I first saw it, I remember the first time watching the movie, I'm like, why would they have one in there? It's a supermarket.
Yeah, like, what are they stealing? Like, asparagus? Relax. Like, you have cameras for that. Think you'll be fine. Of course. I guess with that much booze in a liquor store, or not in a supermarket, who has that much booze in a supermarket? Also, I feel like the only believable one, though, until it got to the end, at first, like, obviously my first time watching this, now I know, kind of thought the grandma one was going to be real. Like, at first,
I
like
remember
when he
that
picked
too.
up, I thought it was going to be real. She's like, would you like me to buy you booze? I'm like, she passed the vibe check. She's awesome. Like, let's do it.
I distinctly remember thinking that was real, because you think that the first was like, he thinks about just going up, and then it's just like, never mind. And then that happens, and he's in there. And
I thought that was going to be it. I was like, where do we go from here? And then he gets his throat slit by a security guard. And I was like, oh, okay, this is all just a fantasy. Yeah.
His throat slit by a security guard in a supermarket.
The Paul Blart before there
really
was Paul
shitty
Blart.
Security guard.
Yeah. That guy auditioned for Paul Blart 4 times and didn't get it. And he was like, Superbad it is.
Yeah, he got a call back, but couldn't quite get there.
That was his reel for Paul Blart, was like, I slit Jonah Hill's throat. He's like, well, this is a very different movie than that.
This is a Kevin James movie, sir.
Yeah. We're about good spirits here.
Yeah, it's a family movie. So let's move on. We'll do line for line now. So my first one, I got to start off really hot, because I think that it is absolutely the funniest line in the movie. And it's that no one has gotten a hand job in cargo shorts since Nam. There's so many since Nam jokes, or like when I was in Nam, like that one is overused joke. But this is the only one that's worthy enough to have this joke.
Oh, absolutely. This one, this one is above and beyond all of those. It's so real too. It's just like,
it
is close to home.
It's probably true.
Hits close to home for everybody. I'm gonna go with when they crash the car into Jonah Hill and they're holding him down on the floor. He's like, "Get down on the ground," and Bill Hader's aiming the gun at them, and he goes. Jonah Hill's like, "Why are we doing this?" He's like, "I am the law. Now hold hands." And they're like, "What?" He goes, "Hold hands."
No, hold hands.
They just start holding hands.
That reminds me of like, it seems like some kind of hazing thing that he's just like making them hold hands for no reason, just like honestly for no reason.
Just for authority. He's just like, "Hold hands because I said so."
Yeah, because he can. My number 2. I have literally just for one word, and it's so like elementary. I'm just a young kid that likes goofy stuff. By the time senior year rolls around, I'll be like the Iron Chef of pounding Vaj. Just like for some reason, I remember the first time I heard him say Vaj cracked me up so hard that to the point where now when I rewatch it, I'm still like, that's so funny.
Iron Chef pounding Vaj. He's Savage. Yeah. I'm gonna go for my number 2 when they're interrogating in like, you know, asking questions to the cashier at the liquor store, and they're asking like about the guy who robbed it, and she's like, "He's exactly like you," and then Seth Rogen goes, "Okay, so he's Jewish." And then later in the scene, she starts freaking out and she goes, "I can't do this. I have a veterinary test tomorrow." Blah, blah, blah. She runs out and Seth Rogen goes, "Oh, somebody has a test tomorrow."
Yeah, I guess someone has a test tomorrow. For whatever reason, I think that line alone solidifies both of their characters. Like
immediately.
When it's their character reveal, and then all of a sudden he says that, and you're just like, okay. Like, you know exactly who they are, what they're going to be about.
Yep.
Yeah, that was so good. I think that the first one you said, the Jewish thing, I think that's the second best line in the whole movie.
So Jewish. That was just
yeah. So number 3, I'm also going to do a quick 2 because they're in the same, like pretty much right after another. So when they're breaking up the party in the end, he knocks on the door and Bill Hader just goes, "Oh no, it's the cops." That's the line I was talking about. The delivery of "Oh no, it's the cops." Like just so funny because the door opens, it's just him saying that right there. And then one that really cracked me up is and it's so obviously just kind of an anti-police thing in a way.
Yeah.
Rogen going, "Prepare to be fucked by the long dick of the law."
Dude,
just
so
for kids,
good.
like they're like pretending like it's gonna be so bad that they're. I mean, great. Underage drinking isn't great, but
in that scene, he goes to. He's like, "We assume you all have weapons and crack." They're all leaving,
just messing around with them. Yeah, they're so good.
My last one is from Fogel, and it's just when he's seeing the girl that he eventually, you know, hooks up with her ass. He goes, "I was looking at it," and then she turns around and she's like, "What?" And he goes, "It's 10:23." And then it like goes out of the flashback and he's talking to Jonah Hill and Michael Cera, and he goes, "Yeah, totally told her what time it was." Like,
oh my God, Fogel, that's the coolest fucking story I ever heard.
Do you have time to tell it again? He's like, "Actually, yeah, I do."
Yeah. No, an honorable mention for me comes from that one too. It's the home ec teacher herself. If you're in this class and you're not supposed to be, please leave. Fogel.
Yes.
Hi. I, for some reason, love it. There are some things I remember as a kid that I just can't get over.
I feel like that one hits close to home too. Like that's happened.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that about wraps it up. I don't know if you want to get any last things in. I mean, we covered a lot. The best movie, or the best comedy, at least before our whole rewatch journey, I guess, or whatever. Yeah. I'm still holding it at number 1 after I watch it.
I'm gonna move it up into the top 5. I gotta move it up into the top 5. Yeah. Like after the rewatch.
I think that you were trying to be different than my list, I think, just so we could cover more movies, because something I realized, and something that is in the YouTube intro that I have. If you guys like watching, if you guys like watching video podcasts, by the way, if you're listening to this, we're on YouTube, and whether you're watching it on whatever, please like, rate, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Follow us on social. It's all in the description.
It's all there.
But yeah, so like it says 16 plus. So when we don't have one in our top 15, because that's what we originally did, it says 16 plus. How could you not put Superbad in the top 15?
I know. I mean, I messed up.
That's
I
on
messed
you.
up.
That's
Yeah,
on
I
you.
know. It's didn't want repeats.
I know
but
it. It was that. It was that.
Yeah.
For sure.
It wasn't.
'Cause you
It
love this
wasn't.
movie.
I fucking love this movie so much.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
next week
Well,
we have a great one too. We have a fucking great one.
yeah, fantastic one. We should do some fun stuff around that too. But yeah, so comes out November 3rd, the year of our Lord 2020. Big day tomorrow. Well, we're recording on Monday.
What's
Big
happening?
Day. Yeah, I have no clue what the state of the world is going to be when this is out, and it's especially if you're listening to it Wednesday. Hey,
Have fun.
we'll get through it. We'll get through it.
We'll do it. We'll be fine.
Those are our parting words.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be good, everyone.
Enjoy the day.
Yeah,
Carpe
until
diem.
then, it's Carpe Diem. Until then, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Winnie. Take your Ubers.
Yeah. What?
Take your Ubers.
Okay. I still don't know what you said.
Take your Ubers, people. Take your Ubers.